the benefit for you and me is that we don't need this podcast to continue our livelihood, right?
Yeah.
If it retires us one day, great, right? But we're doing this basically as a passion project because we truly enjoy the process of creating content and we're trying to get better at it. We're not professionals at this, right? And we're just getting better each and every day. However, with that being said, if we want to create content that's relatable to the masses, we have to get better at creating content. And that's why the reason why we're doing the One Creator Lab, by being consistent to pump out other pieces of content. And I want to be authentic to who I am as a person. I don't want people to be like, that's a different John that I see on screen versus the one that I see outside of my life.
Yeah.
And I constantly struggle with that because at work, I'd be a hypocrite to say that I don't act differently at work than I do on screen or outside of screen, right? But that's because, like law firms, and I can't speak to any industry, I'm going to talk to law firms.
Yeah.
Law firms are terrible at diversity and inclusion, right? It's just their track record is just bad.
Yeah.
And that has to do with a lot of socioeconomic impacts, law schools that, people of color go to, and these law firms only recruit from the elite law firms and things like that. And I've kind of sort of checked every box, went to a good law school, got the grades, but I'm one of the very few that look like me that are at these law firms, right?
Yeah.
And I was at a retreat early on this year, and they had a sort of like a diversity panel of like partners at my law firm, and people were talking about like, you need to be true to yourself and you can open yourself up.
Yeah.
And I saw the things that these people have as hobbies.
Yeah.
Like specifically, one was talking about a cookbook, right?
Okay.
Well, have you heard about those cookbooks that you can like cook with like marijuana in them? It's like a hood cookbook. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I always wonder, what if she had a hood cookbook? Would that be okay? You get what I'm trying to say? Her cookbook was focused on her marriage of being Irish, because she's married to an Irish person.
Okay.
And it was sort of like blending.
Oh, wait, I wanna just interject. Just because it's some cooking with marijuana or THC and all that doesn't make it hood.
No. I'm just saying, I was making two separate statements. Either one that you can cook with marijuana products, and another one that's like a hood. Have you heard of a hood cookbook? There's a hood cookbook. There's actually one that's like that's called the hood cookbook.
Oh, for real?
Like
Okay.
Yeah, I've seen that before. But look, law firms in general and corporate law firms, they can say whatever they want. I believe they're a little judgmental, right? So I always thought was like, okay, would they be okay if that person's cookbook was more sort of towards like that lane of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And that's the reason why I'm very careful with, what I say on this podcast, because I don't know who's looking at it and how it's going to get shared. And we're in the age of the internet now. The moment I'm not employed by them, then maybe my vernacular would be different. My vocabulary would be a little different. But until then, there has to be a certain line of, and I appreciate you for respecting that. My line on that.
Yeah.
Like there's certain things I won't say and I can't say because I am still employed by someone else, right? And at the end of the day, until you become a truly independent creator, I don't think you could ever be 100% authentic on the internet, because the internet is forever, right? It's a forever place. So you got to be willing to stand on business with whatever you say on this camera.
Yeah.
So for me, like I am a little bit of a hypocrite when people say like, you need to sort of be authentic, because I still need to act with a little bit of professional decorum when I am on this podcast. And that's unfortunate. That's fortunate for my law firm, unfortunate for me.
Yeah.
Right? But that's something that I came away with, where I was like, okay, if I actually got to be who I am, would they accept me at this place?